You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Out to our intros here on the Experience. I bloody well love them.
It's a great intro.
All of our intros are like the Mishmash one I go hard on, the in-stores, like all of them. I love the intros. It's so much fun. We rock out to them. Hey guys, welcome in. It is Minute to Skim It with the Liam and the Jenna. Hello. Well, we read all the books that are coming out tomorrow. And so we're going to tell you about them. I'm super excited about this week because it is also the 30th anniversary of the death of Superman. So this was Liam's first time reading that series.
I didn't grow up reading these things, and my dad was not a huge Superman fan. He watched movies, but
I'm so excited.
Guys, technically the death of Superman is next Thursday, but DC doesn't seem to care about the date, so why should we?
Hey, the voice of Kyle.
Yes.
Hey, Cool Gamer. So what did you think about it? Did you like it? All right, I'm gonna do the licensures real quick.
Knowing already that he was dying, it didn't help. But first time reading this, and just skimming through it, I thought it was decent. It's absolutely a nostalgia kick for people who grew up reading the Superman comics. So it's just a nostalgia kick. Jen interviewed Dan Jurgens yesterday. This is actually the first of 2 Dan Jurgens books that I have read today. Not meaning to. Nostalgia kick. That's all I'll say.
But I mean, okay, so I'm trying to remember the first issue of Death of Superman. He's not dead yet in that one, right?
I don't know.
You didn't read that?
I did, yeah, but
he's not dead.
It comes in right before, Doomsday isn't even dead. Okay. It's just the snapshot of when he's dying.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like the first issue of Funeral for a Friend.
Yeah,
what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that now. Don't forget to hit that like and share and the bell so that we always get our stuff. I am literally sharing it out right now so that way we can have all our friends in the chitty chit chats.
And if we have a book that's not at your LCS, please don't yell your LCS. We're doing our best.
Yes.
There's a bunch of shipping issues. I say this every week. There's a bunch of shipping issues, and not only us, but every LCS in the country is being affected. So if we have a book that we read today that's not at your store, please don't be mean to us. We're trying.
Please don't be angry.
Yeah.
So I am probably going to say an unpopular opinion, but this week the books were kind of
they were
meh. Like there was 2 I enjoyed ish, but
2 were my enjoyments this week.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with Traveling to Mars. This is my first one. So this is Traveling to Mars from Ablaze. It's number 1. Hold on. There was so much going on in this book. I wrote notes on it.
There was a lot.
Because every time I turned the page, he would hear me going, "What is happening?"
And I just pause my video and be like, "What happened?"
Okay, so this is in the span of so it's a dude. He's in space. He's wearing his cowboy boots. He's wearing his Australian hat thingy, and so the dude, you find out, actually has stage 4 cancer, and this company that's disguising themselves as a meat processing place or something comes in, and they're like, "Oh, you're the guy that has no family except for your mom. So you want to go to space? We'll give you $10 million and a lifetime supply of imitation meat." And he's like, "Yeah, a lifetime supply for me would be 2 months?" And they're like, "Okay, well, we'll give your loved one a lifetime supply." And it's man, this lawyer is sassy. Sassy pants. And the dude was living in a pet store because he likes pets. And he figured that'd be the great way to spend the last couple months of his life. And he spends like the whole book thinking of the best way to unalive himself. Yeah. He even tells the scientist, because he only had 1 day of quote unquote training before he was just sent into space. He goes in and they were like, so what's your plans for once you get there? Because there's no way for us to get you back. He's like, oh, I'll probably walk around and then take off my helmet. And they're like, oh no, that's a horrible way to die because the atmosphere is so low there. Water starts boiling at, human body temperature. So you take off your helmet and you start boiling. And he's like, yeah, that's not a fun way to go. I'll figure something else out. And you're just like, yeah, okay. That's fine. And what's funny to me is he didn't even realize what he had actually planned to do until he was on the ship. And he's like, well, yep. This is where I am.
I'm here now.
This is the thing. Yeah, he's like, I'm here now. So, yeah. In the span of 2 years, he went from his mom and dad, his dad dying, getting cancer, and then living in space. Spaceship. Oh, and the way his dad dies in the very second page is he was playing with a monkey and the monkey bit him and he got herpes, and that's how herpes started.
Nice. That was all in one book.
That wasn't even. That was the first half of this book. That was the first half of this. I can't wait to read more. I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to. So I'm gonna transition to a book that I just despised.
Tragedy of Macbeth. I hated reading it in school, and I stopped reading this about halfway through because I was just rereading what I read in high school. If you're an English teacher, if you got kiddos who are in high school and are reading Macbeth and are like, I'm bored, I hate reading this out of a textbook, that was me, give them this.
Yeah.
Like the first 2 pages, I showed this to her. We both think that it's in Gaelic.
No. It's in Celtic.
Celtic.
It's either Celtic or Welsh.
It is in not any language that I've ever seen written out. I was very confused. Like, they have character descriptions in a different language, but the rest of it's in Old English.
Yeah.
I'm very confused, and I just bored.
I ended up picking it up because he was like, this is straight out of the book. And I'm like, oh, the statement. Hold on, let me look at this. And I was like, this is direct word for word and description to description from the actual Macbeth.
I was having flashbacks to high school in not a good way.
I was having flashbacks to theater. Not in a good way either.
Yeah.
But
if you guys liked Macbeth, pick it up. I just stopped reading it halfway through because I was just having flashbacks to senior year.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of Old English, this book is in Old English. So this is Gospel #1 from Image Comics. So it's really cool. Really, really cool. I enjoyed it. So what's really cool is, so this person that's right here, she is pretty much a saint, and everybody else is like, oh, well, maybe the saints in the church will save us. And then, like, she sees all the things that are happening that the church is doing. She was like, yeah, the church is, like, fixing our Latin translations for English translations, and it's not very good. Like, they're doing it bad. Mm-hmm. And so it's also about her best friend who's a bard who tells her stories through, like, you know how, like,
bardom.
Yeah. And but her stories aren't going out because she does talk to God.
Wow.
That's not a spoiler. That was in the very first panel.
Oh wow. That's neat.
That was in the description. It's like, hey, this person's actually a saint. Well, the church is doing crazy things, and nobody will listen to her because why wouldn't they listen to her as a saint in 1535, I think? 1538. Because she's female. Gasp.
My God.
So, she's sitting there doing the Lord's work and is very sarcastic about it. And her bard friend is like, well, here's all the stories and things and stuff.
A woman who talks to God? Can't figure that out.
That is... And she has purple hair. It was really cool. I think it was purple. No, it was green. I'm sorry. It was green. Everybody else looked normal, and then she has green hair, and she's just like, look at me in my third. It was great.
Anyways, so moving on, the Knight and Lady of Play. It's so I don't really know what happened. There was like seductress in the forest. There was like implied incestual assault when she was a child out of nowhere, and like that's why she takes advantage of men in the woods. I had to stop reading it for a second because I was like, it just drops out of nowhere, no hint. She's just like, I was inappropriately touched by my father, and I'm like, where did this come from? It's a book.
How was the art? At least the cover.
It was
interesting,
gorgeous.
yeah.
The art in it was gorgeous. It's just a very strange tale. But like I said, the art in it is gorgeous. It's a really good take on seductresses and essentially succubus. It was decent. I will warn, there is nudity, and like I said, there is heavy implications of incestual assault. So read at your own discretion. There is also nudity. So yeah. Most of this bottom row was, I don't know what's happening.
Most of all of mine were that way.
Except for Great Fairy Tales.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this one. This is my favorite book of the week. And I'll tell you why. So this is a pinup special, and so Zenescope does this for most seasons. They're not quarterlies. The quarterlies, they usually do Tales of Terrors, or they do like actual stories. This was actually just a pinup one, kind of like they do with their armed forces, or they do with like the holiday special, which is this one. But they snuck in a like kind of like a preview story to the first half of it. And it's a story about Gretel, which if none of you know, she is a witch and has to eat hearts. Oh, and yeah, witches in Zenescope have to eat hearts.
Yeah, that's about traditional.
And so yeah, the rest of it was the memes I could tell you.
I could be gayer.
Like there was at one point there was one picture with Hellchild in it, and I was like, I would let her eat crackers in bed and wouldn't kick her out.
Yeah. I was like, I wouldn't mind if she burns my toast. I would still eat it.
Yep. There was quite a bit. Hey Papa! Doing a drive-by, I like it.
Nice.
Yeah, so the first half of it is a story about Gretel and Hellchild, and they're doing a setup for the actual series that they're about to start. So it was a preview in the first half. The second half of it was the actual pinup pictures.
Yeah. She's a heart attack waiting.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy the all the way across the board holiday stuff that they did, because there was like cooking gingerbread.
There was a Christmas story theme.
Christmas story theme one. Like usually their pinup ones have no story, but they stuck a preview in this one, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's a really good way to get like an Ashcan / preview.
Yeah.
Plus the pinups. We could all be a little.
We could be a bit. It's fine. Anyways, moving on to based on real world events. So one of our producers, Jay, was not a huge fan of this. If you have been watching the show for a long time, you know I have been thoroughly enjoying this Rival Street series, which if you don't know anything that's been going on in that, it takes a lot of stuff from the real world and throws it in there, except in this case, it's not really political. There is a very, very clear reference to the insurrection last year. So I'll say it's a very funny take on a lot of real world events that have been happening. There at one point in 2020, they launch a phallic-shaped missile into space. Yep, 2 different ones.
And they're barbed.
Mm-hmm. Like a cat. Anyways.
I don't understand why they had to do. They had no respect for anybody with no need.
But it's hilarious. And it's a really, if you've been enjoying this Rival Street series, if you've been enjoying like the comedy and like the parody of it, legitimately, if you've been liking that series, pick this up because it's super funny. And it also, like, at the end, I've been loving I Love Dogs. And it absolutely, I feel like, is going to give an homage to it because, like, there's a what is it? Like, the virus that's going around the world now is starts in 2020. It is a sterilization virus, so you can't have kids. Hence the dick-shaped missile. It's a funny story, so.
There is no good transition.
I'm going to say this book right here needs to come with a trigger warning.
Yeah.
So it deals with Peter Parker here. In the first issue, somebody in the first panel, somebody's resurrecting him.
Yep.
At least I think it's supposed to be him. Like it's set like, oh, I killed him 500 years ago.
Bro looks like he's only been dead for 20 minutes.
He's been dead for, but it looks like old man Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Not old man, but like he all like buff and like long flowy
He
hair,
don't
like
look like he's
Fabio.
been dead for 500 years.
Yeah. But then it's also like a couple of years ago, and you're like, now wait a minute, you said 500. Now you're saying a couple. Y'all need to make up your mind. But it's dealing with, so Peter has just lost his powers, and Mary Jane is like super pregnant, and like he's trying to deal with
Losing his powers.
he's trying to deal with, in his mind, he knows all of his baddies are still out there, and he can do nothing about it.
Yeah.
They had just like abandoned everything and started in a new place, in a new town, new names, everything. And he's still trying to he has PTSD.
Yeah.
He is trying to work through PTSD. That is what it is. And it's what's that?
No, somebody's saying hello.
Hello. Hello.
Continue.
So this is definitely getting to see him breaking.
Yeah.
Which is funny because the second issue is called Broken.
Fitting.
So definitely put a trigger warning on that one for anybody who also might be dealing with things like, emotionally trying to figure out who they are before things. Yeah. There you go.
So, I can't really give a trigger warning for this, but I will mention it is a Tarzan story. That is correct. But if you don't know the original story to Tarzan, like the non-Disneyfied version, it's messed up. It's a really disturbed story, which actively does touch on in this. It's not the Disney version. If you know the original version, you know what I'm talking about. It is just disturbed. It's good for it, but I will throw out there, it's definitely not for 15 and younger. It's a Dynamite story. Yeah, it is. It's a fantastic book. And this is honestly a really good story. I'm just not a huge Tarzan fan. In general, like original story, Disney. I don't care. I'm not really a huge Tarzan fan. I was a George of the Jungle kid. George of the Jungle.
Yeah. So
Watch out for the tree.
But if you are an original Tarzan fan, pick it up. Absolutely. I just did not enjoy it because I didn't like Tarzan in general.
Right, I
thought it was gorgeous. I thought it was gorgeous art. I thought it was beautiful. Most of the art, honestly, all the art today has been gorgeous. I have no knocks on any of the art today. So
I'm gonna talk about the book that I like the least this week, because I was even the entire time.
Oh yeah.
The entire time, I was even asking Liam. I was like, Liam, I don't remember this happening in other books. I don't
know anything about Firefly.
Yeah,
so
I've read most of the other series. This one picks up right where the last series left off, and then it just spends 2 pages about that, and then it just kind of descends into chaos. Is the best way to say it. Yeah. At one point, she's surfing with a life raft full of sheep.
Yeah.
And
then the sheep stop.
And then the sheep were just gone, and then everybody was melting, and then everybody
fever
was
dream.
This was a fever dream. This was 3 or 4 fever dreams put together by River, and I was so.
I'm so sorry. Sean.
I'm so confused.
I'm so sorry.
Oh no, that is okay. I will show
That's
you other Firefly
unfortunate.
stuff later.
There's
Anyways.
good Firefly series.
This was not it though.
Yeah, that's not.
Now this one, it may be setting up for something else. Like maybe all of these different fever dreams will
Maybe
line
it's
up
an
for
actual
something.
fever dream.
Yeah, maybe it's an actual fever dream. But at this point, I legitimately had no idea what was going on.
Which I feel like is unfortunate with a lot of those Firefly series. Because like a lot of them
because a lot of them are good.
Yeah, but a lot of them aren't really beginner friendly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not very beginner friendly. This one is definitely not beginner friendly. As a person who's read almost all the other Firefly series, it's not even friendly to me. The art was pretty.
Bonuses.
That's all I got for that.
So Fantastic Four. You would expect this Fantastic Four book, like the whole crew. Just the Thing and his blind girlfriend.
Aww.
So apparently me and Shanice have a mutual opinion on Richard Reed's.
Reed Richards.
Reed Richards. There we go.
Mr.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep. I kind of think that he's pretentious.
I will fight you.
We've talked about this before they even the show.
90% of all the Reed Richards are pretentious.
Annoying.
But there is at least one.
Anyways,
Oh.
we don't have time for sidebars.
Sidebar, Abner.
It's if you enjoyed the thing, if you're like getting prepared for like the new round of Fantastic Four that's about to release because it's been teased for like 3 months. Pick it up if you're a huge Fantastic Four series like fan. I grew up with the movies. Which I wasn't even a huge fan of the movies either, which says something.
They weren't very good.
They were not.
Now they weren't as terrible as everybody says, but they weren't as like they weren't very
fantastic. That wasn't intentional.
good.
Anyways, pick it up if you like Fantastic Four and are curious of how this is gonna go, because I am very confused. But the art in it is gorgeous. It's a typical Fantastic Four story. So,
all right, this is a prequel. This is a one shot. This is the new golden age. If I say this is again in this sentence, this is it. Anywho, so this is actually a setup for the new Justice Society of America, or JSA, that's coming up. So it is a one shot, and it is a lot of. Hold on, there's actually like a half a page of notes on this one. There were so many time jumps. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, so it starts in 1940, goes to 3022, goes back to 1951, goes forward to present as it says, and then goes back to 1952, then goes back to 3022, and then like it's a lot of jumping back and forth trying to get you set up, because the one overall thing that's going on all of these timelines, and they that's how they actually opened up the book, is Dr. Fate his death always kicks off something. I'm sorry, their death always kicks off something. Is Dr. Fate's death every time. And it's like the helmet flips out knowing this has to happen to start this. And then it's like, I think it was like 2 or 3 pages in, and that Dr. Fate at the time gets a vision of a puton of lost children.
Oh.
And also CPS and the police need to be called.
Yeah, she said that out loud to me when she was reading it. She was
Because,
like, why is CPS not being involved?
Yeah, and there's got to be an alternate timeline. There's got to be an alternate timeline, because it also has like retired Batman, but not actually retired Batman. I don't remember that.
That has been one of the more upsetting things about DC, is that they release one shots with zero context.
But this one is a prequel too. Like it says it on in the back, like, hey, catch the rest of us on the new series. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to catch that.
Yeah.
With these hands.
Yeah, that's been one of the downsides about DC.
And the police. Because there is a child that is being watched by the person that I showed you.
Anyways, I don't know how to. Yeah, he looks like. Hello.
Hi,
kiddo. She did show me a picture. He does look like CPS should be. He looks like he should be on a watch list.
And then when he just disappeared.
Yeah. Anyways, Black Panther Unconquered. So they make a lot of callbacks to characters that already pre-exist in the Black Panther universe.
Continue. you.
very sleepy. Anyways, they make a lot of references back to characters, and because I am not reading the Black Panther series, I'm very confused. Like I generally understand the Black Panther universe. I do, but because I'm not actively reading the universe, I don't know what's happening. So they're making references back to stuff that I can like generally understand, but it is absolutely not beginner reader friendly for Black Panther, unfortunately. But I feel like if it is a tie-in to the new movie, that's fantastic. But I don't know. So
Guess what, guys? We're going to the movies on Sunday. Gonna watch that Black Panther, the whole story. So excited!
yeah, well, not the whole story. Eddie's out of town.
Oh,
Eddie
They were-
told us.
I know. But the rest of us,
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat popcorn. Watch Black Panther, and I'll talk about it on Tuesday.
Mama Jen's taking us.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
All right. So Cult of Dracula. This one I was a little confused. So this is the book 1 deluxe.
Oh.
And I was pretty sure it felt like just parts of the stories that have already come out.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I was really confused. So this is the deluxe version. It has a bunch of the art and like, so in the back of it, it actually has what it looks like when somebody writes a comic book before all the pictures and everything is done. It's the writing of the dialogue and setup.
They've been doing that with a lot of source stuff.
But with this one, it felt like it was
It's very strange.
following up with something else that happened kind of midway through the series that was going on.
Yeah.
But it also felt like call outs to the actual first book. This one is not beginner friendly, but it also is a good way to like get a taste of what's going on, I guess is the best way to put
If
it.
you're a Source Point stan and a Dracula fan in general with the
Yeah.
Source Point series, you'll enjoy it.
But other than that, there was one scene where it was completely out of nowhere. So far we have the news crew that shows up at the church that's trying to be like, oh, what's going on? Yeah, we need to talk to all the people. And they're like, hey, we're all the people. This isn't a cult. Where's Daddy and his boom boom? And you're just like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden there's a little girl running down a hallway who accidentally peeks into a room that is on the outside is Ceci time, on the inside is Deadly time.
That is verbatim what she said to me as she showed me the panel.
Yeah. So yeah, that is a thing we have now seen.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Mhm.
So moving on to something radically different.
Hey, they live.
So Specs, it takes place in 87, which is neat. So essentially the whole premise is that the main character's brother moves out and left this entire box of comics behind. And one of them, it was from like the 70s. One of them had a ad in the back for magic goggles, like magic glasses, like the cheesy ads that they used to put at the back of like kids magazines and comics, like that kind of stuff. Like you could cut it out and like send it in, and it was magic specs. So it gives me massive like old school Goosebumps vibes. Of like I can't even remember like one of them. Say Cheese or Die. That's what it was giving me vibes of. It was neat. Like honestly, I might pick up the series when it's a trade instead of continuing with actual individual issues, because it ends at a really weird spot. Like it ends on like a weird cliffhanger that shouldn't have been a cliffhanger, but whatever.
As with tradition.
Of course. But if you do like the kind of like
Yes, because it is David and Boer.
yes, and I've been loving what he's been releasing. And like I feel like a lot of the series I will absolutely pick up as a trade, but it's just I don't have the time for the individuals, which is a shame. But it's beautiful. It is fantastic, and if you like that nostalgia trip of both old school Goosebumps and also like the nostalgia of sending in stuff, pick it up. It's beautiful. It's fantastic.
Okay, let's see. Done that.
That is a mood indeed.
What is it? Yes. Oh my gosh. So of these last 3 books that I have, I was iffy on all 3 of them. So eeny, meeny, miny, moo. Whoosh, yoosh, zhoo, zhoo, zhoo. Ow. That's tape.
Jenna.
The tape undid itself.
Jenna.
Okay, less tape now. The Armageddon game, the Alliance #1, is about, I'm going to mess up her name. I'm so sorry. You guys can yell at me in the comments if you want. Here it is. Oruku Karai. I think that's her name.
If you didn't know, there has been an ongoing series within the TMT universe, and they recently, about 2 months ago, started.
Yeah, they started
a
this
side plot of Armageddon game that has been teased since like April.
Yeah. I've read the other ones, and of the other ones, this is probably the most boring one.
That's what I've been hearing about the face of Armageddon game, unfortunately.
I do have to say, it felt like they were trying to reach out their max characters that they could put in thought bubbles for every single panel.
Yeah. That's about what I've been hearing for the main Armageddon game.
Wasn't that way with me? Like, when I'm reading it, it doesn't feel that way. Just this one it was literally like, backstory, side story, what's going on, what she's trying to do, how she was trained, why she is the way she is. And I was like, that's cool, but please don't dump all of that into one thin comic, please, because that was so much. Every single
exposition
panel.
gets really confusing. If there's any writers out there, please, we do enjoy exposition, but not to that extent.
Like, that was literally every single panel was maxed out on words that they could fit into. It felt like, okay, so you had the panel, you had a little picture here, and then you had a big box of this for words. And it was just maxed out.
1 or 2 pages synopsis, and that's all we need. That is legitimately all we need.
There was one of them in here, I think it was Gospel, where they just give you the backstory right there in the first page.
That's what they did with Survival. That's what they did with Survival.
So it was very, for lack of a better word, boring.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. The art was cool.
Yeah.
It was very similar to this. And we got to see the turtles, with their masks on.
Yeah.
But it was just like, the turtles were only in it for 1 page.
Yeah.
And then it was back to her saying a lot of things. It was a lot of things. It was a lot of
exposition.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So, Skull Kickers. So Skull Kickers one shot, which is according to the end of this, it's going to turn into its own actual series after this 10th anniversary. But very, very quirky, adorable, fantastic, absolutely, like, you can tell there are multiple homages to Harry Potter and like the magic kind of school kind of stuff. It's really cute, and there's like censored out cursing, so like you can generally.
I want you to see the vulture on the dude's book head.
So, they're apparently in disguise
at this school, trying to do like some deep dive of like a creature that lives underneath their school. And everybody is like, "Why are you wearing the beard?" And he's like, "What are you talking about? I'm not wearing a beard." And it's hilarious. I love it. It's super, super quirky and super, super cute. I love it. And it is honestly like a perfect one shot. It gives you all the exposition that you need. It gives you good backstory if you haven't read the Skull Kicker series. It's just overall just a decent series, if I'm being completely honest. I'm very excited for this series to start.
Ooh. Yes. All right, what do I have left? Wildcats. This one was actually kind of cool. So in this one, what's really funny to me is this dude that's right here, this top dude, is not from this universe. He's from the deceased universe, and he's actually trying to talk to people about it.
Wildcats at one point had a crossover.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, like, this is a different one.
My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, this is a different one.
I don't know why we think it's Marvel. I don't know.
Because Marvel had their own one back in the day, and Image had their own one by Jim Lee back in the 90s. But this one is the actual Marvel one.
Yeah.
So this
DC.
is a group. Sorry, DC. You got me messing up. So this dude right here, he's literally opens up the thing where he's like, "I'm the best superhero ever," and then shoots somebody in the face and just kind of like disappears.
If we're talking about Skull Kickers still in the chat, I didn't read the original series, so I have no idea, and they also don't tell you the character names. So.
Him and his group are doing this heist, and they're in this lab, and then he finds that they're experimenting on monkeys, so he shoots them. He's like, "Man, that's torture. I don't like that." Bam. And then they just like disappear.
How is that better?
Like, Yup. And then he's sitting in a bar and he's like, yeah, so all of these, like, it was the anti-life equation, and then, you know, the things, that's actually how DC started, was the anti-life equation got downloaded into the cyborg. So that way anybody took pictures of him or, like, uploaded pictures of him, when they saw it, their brain downloaded the anti-life equation and thus became, you know, zombies.
What?
Anywho, so he's talking to the scientists in a bar about the anti-life equation, turning people into zombies, how it got Flash, how it got Superman, like in the first story arc, and there's like 3 story arcs. Yeah, they got like nerked out in those. It's been a few years, so I'm pretty sure we're okay.
Is it beginner reader friendly?
This, yes.
Okay.
This is mostly beginner reader friendly. The only thing I would have to say is at least look up the character. Just so you can be like, oh, he has a brother. Oh, he has a this. Cool. Because this is a completely different character than the original one that was in this universe. So it's a different version of this character from the deceased universe. He's fresh off the hills of, you know, zombies and superhero zombies doing crazy superhero zombie things. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, leaving the planet and then coming back to the planet and then leaving the universe because that was the only way they could survive that whole thing. And so, yeah. you don't have to read Deceased to get what's going on here.
Okay.
Although I will highly recommend it.
It's fantastic. We sell out of it all the time.
Good. It is. I have every single issue for a reason.
I actually found out about Deceased before I found out about Marvel Zombies. Right? I was like,
because it's better. That's just me though.
Yeah. Tell me how you really feel, Jen.
Oh, I will. I can go on a full 2-hour TED talk about Deceased.
She's done it before. That's why I said what I just said. You've trapped me in a car for an hour and just explained Deceased.
And someday you will read it. And you will understand my love for it. And that's why it made me so happy that they mentioned it to an actual scientist. Nice. And the scientist even said that was crazy. Nice. I'm like, I know, right? It's great.
Anyways, back to death. 2 graves. So you would think, hey, that's an afterlife story. No, not technically. The art on the cover is generally the art style on the inside. I don't know really how to explain it because it's kind of a confusing plot until about the end. And then it's like, oh. So this dude on the edge of the cliff, like standing on the edge of the cliff, he's dead, and or the symbolicism of death.
I guess you could say he's on the edge of glory.
Anyways. Let's go.
Hey, it worked! We've been missing high fives like for weeks. All we needed was a camera.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
So, essentially, this girl is trying to figure out why. I guess like it's really hard to explain because I don't really know what's going on, but it's really good. But this girl is like hunting down like child murderers, and she's going across the country and also trying to figure out who murdered her parents.
Well, that's rude.
Yeah, that's generally what I understood. But it's really good. Like, the art style in it is gorgeous. Their relationship is really good. The way that she lures men in is fantastic. And her whole character is that she's a vagabond. And
I love that word.
It's a fun word.
It's a fun word to say.
Yeah.
Vagabond.
Because vagabond does not entirely mean homeless. You can have a homestead. Vagabond. Anyways, I need to send you the song. Anyhow, sounds like screw. A little bit, yeah. But I can't say much because I've never actually read it. I just know the general premise. What? Dude, you know my history with comics.
Dude, Vicious Circus minus the clowns.
You were like you were the third person that I met into the store. Are you kidding?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho, going around killing the pedophiles. Got it.
Yeah. Well, not really pedophiles. They're just child murderers. There's a difference.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. But it's a really good series and the art in it is gorgeous and I cannot recommend it any more highly. And this will be, because the last couple of weeks I've been like, I will wait till the trade comes out. This I may or may not actively keep up with. I just have
How's the art in it?
It's gorgeous.
Is it like that?
Yes.
The color?
That's what I said.
Ooh.
The color scheme is similar, but the shading it's not.
Dude! Les Dude. Okay. And on
I'm
that
very
note,
confused.
on that note, let's talk about Sabretooth and the Exiles #1. I do have to say, this can be beginner friendly because at this point, all you know, the way it opens up is Sabretooth has escaped onto a boat into the ocean, but then he's floating in the ocean, and there is, I think it's Dr. Moreau. I think that's who it is. Yeah, that doctor does terrible, terrible things.
Yeah.
Oh my God, such terrible things to mutant kind.
Yeah.
There was, oh my gosh, the letter.
It is disturbed. She showed me a couple of panels. It is disturbed.
And then I showed you that paragraph.
Yeah. It is messed up, bro. Like,
that one character, they decided, they were like, you know what? What is the worst thing that we can do with this character to make this character hated? That is what they did.
So generally what she let me read is so a really good history thing to like generally understand how the government treated the Black population back in the 60s. I do recommend like doing a surface level dive on the Tuskegee syphilis experiment just to give a general like acknowledgement to this.
Kind of, because they mention it. So you don't actually have to do that to read this book, but they do mention
to understand
it.
the general
questions.
like idea of what happened.
So what she's doing is she's in international waters. What does it say? Camille Research is an awesome character hero, but not in this one. He's not. No. So not in this book. He's not. So he gets picked. Well, he gets picked up, and he actually gets experimented on while he is still conscious and awake. She drugs him. And usually drugs like that don't work on him. And she cuts out his liver. And then he throws it back on the table that he's on.
I just picture the stealing your kidneys and leaving you with an ice bath.
I know, right? That's pretty much what they did with his liver. But he is, so they kind of mentioned it before. There is a whole group on a boat that are after him of reformed assassins from Krakoa. Because he did terrible, terrible things to some of the people, some of the other mutants that are on their island. So they're sent out because he was with them and then he escaped and then they're going after him and then he gets picked up and tortured. And then on the way of trying to find him, they're using their psychic abilities and they find an island of where this doctor and her entire experimental team have been dumping bodies of mutants, or at least pieces of bodies that are left over. Mm-hmm. It was horrifying.
That is disturbed.
It was very disturbing because a whole group of mutants that are trying to recapture this mutant who did bad things comes across an island of just bits and pieces and like dried husk and dead mutants just all over it. And they're like, oh no, who done did this? And then the person who's all psychic is like, don't worry, we're not going to have to wait long. They're on the way. And then they gets dropped and it's like, oh, assemble. And you're just like, goodness gracious, Exiles. There you go. And then he wakes up and does terrible things, and it just keeps going from there.
Anyways.
Terrible things. But I mean, if somebody would have done that to me when I was, still conscious enough to feel it, I'm pretty sure I would go on a rampage too. Rampage! From Archer. Sorry. He's on a rampage.
References. I'm like 2 seasons behind, but I know the reference that you're making.
I am sad though because like half the cast is unalived.
Well, not really like half. She died of natural causes.
And so did Woodhouse.
What? Oh yeah, he did. He was also old.
And also so did another actor, but I can't remember what it was. I remember he died of a heart attack, but I can't remember who he played. But yeah, like there's like 3 who are no longer with us.
Absolutely not the guy who played Sterophagus because he is alive and well and playing Jerry.
Yes, he is. By the way, I wish I could remember the name of the actor who plays like Archer, and he also plays the Scorpion.
It's Sean Benjamin.
Okay, how dare he be so talented that he could just use his own voice to do acting?
Have you not seen the crossover?
Yes, I have. That's why I'm saying how dare he be that talented. Yeah. For Bob's Burgers, Archer, and then the Scorpion from All Hail King Julian, and so many other characters.
He's in a bunch of animes too.
Exactly, and he just uses his own voice. He just talks as himself.
I can't escape
Family Guy.
I can't escape Family Guy.
Loving the Thelma and Louise also life. Thank you. Yeah. So our books this week were kind of slow.
Yeah, it was kind of a
it was a lot of exposition. Is that the word you said?
Yeah.
The books that I would say look out for the most is going to be The Death of Superman and probably the Spider-Man, because it is building up for a new universe.
Yeah.
Those are the two biggest ones I'm going to look up for. If you care anything about the Justice Society, go for Golden Age. And then for any teachers or anybody out there who likes history and stuff, go for Macbeth. This is a word for word drawing out of the actual like play by William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And then
And Specs was like, if you want that nostalgia of Say Cheese or Die, which is a very specific.
I flipped through
book.
it and it gave me They Live vibes.
I've never seen. You know my history.
Okay, so They Live. Well, we're gonna explain this.
I
real
know
quick.
what
we got
They
like
Live
10 minutes.
is.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're the aliens. They're on the Earth. The half dead, and you can only see them with the sunglasses.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what that
That's
gave.
probably
yeah,
what that is.
That's
Yeah.
what it gave me. It was zombies instead of aliens, though.
Yeah.
Was it aliens in They Live? Yeah, it was aliens, right?
It was zombies, or was it body snatchers? That whole time frame was a bunch of body snatcher stuff.
Hold on. Specs. And then my favorite book of the week was probably Traveling Mars.
Really?
And don't forget to pick up, well, story-wise, yes.
Oh yeah.
But this was great. It's a preview and it's got stuff in it. So.
We came here to kick butt and chew bubblegum.
Yeah,
but
I'm all out of bubble gum. And then if you like ye old English, go for Gospel and go for Macbeth as well. There was a lot. There was quite a variety of books this week too, which was really nice.
It was like a good balance of like medieval and
future.
Yeah. Like it was a decent balance, or
Yeah.
like set in actual like current times.
Yeah.
This guy, I will say again, if you are just now joining in, if you don't like political commentary and like the parodies of it, do not pick this up.
Oh my god.
And also the depiction of very phallic objects.
Goodness. All right, so this has been a great show with all of us tonight. We're just ending a couple minutes earlier, it's totally fine. Please, everybody, if you go to your LCS, your little comic shop, and a lot of things aren't there that you see here, you can ask them, see if they can order it, or you could always reach out to us. There's also been a lot of shipping delays across the whole country because,
Yes.
Here in Texas, earlier this week, we were hit with, what did they call them? A herd of tornadoes?
A gathering.
A gathering. I can't remember. I just remember they said it was rare herd tornadoes. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I thought a herd was a group. There's also, so please be patient.
Please don't
with
yell
us.
at us. We're
We
doing
try.
our best.
We try. A lot of the smaller indie books, you can always reach out to the companies. You can also ask your LCS people to see if they can order it for you.
Yeah.
And we want to thank everybody for always joining us. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.